What is it about 2010? Dramatic skin-of-the-teeth results in the British election, the South Australian, Tasmanian and federal elections here, and now just the third drawn grand final in 114 seasons of Aussie rules. Now the AFL has thrown open the ticketing, making more seats available for ordinary fans, even giving free tickets for charity. But beyond the bonanza for supporters and organisers, 44 players are facing a huge psychological task. Mary Gearan reports from Melbourne.
If footy is religion, then this is purgatory. How does a footballer cope with the agony of neither winning nor losing?
It's going to be a draw. It's unbelievable. But it's happened.
When Collingwood and St Kilda drew at the weekend, it signalled the start of a rare and fascinating study for sports psychologists and armchair observers alike. Just how does a team rise to its mental and physical peak twice in 8 days?
On an unforgettable last Saturday in September.
There are just 4 other teams in history that have had to do it, the rivals in the drawn grand finals of 48 and 77.
There's the siren. There's the siren. So it's a tie. We're back again next Saturday.
We were privileged, those of us who were there.
Stan Alves watched this week's tie and suffered immediate flashbacks.
Alves will pick up, drives it deep into the forward line.
He was part of the North Melbourne side that went on to beat Collingwood a week after the sides drew in 77. So how did North do it? Many say it came down to what coach Ron Barassi did and said in the initial confused moments after the final siren of the drawn match.
I saw the real mark of greatness in him as a leader at that point of time. And there was just pandemonium everywhere. And Ron just took control. He took control and I remember his words were, "Boys, everybody in the room." So all of a sudden there was silence. And then his words to start off were, "How lucky are we?" My first thought was, you are an idiot.
Well, we're thankful after that third quarter to be able to get back and have another chance.
I'll never forget his turnaround and he said, "Give me your minds and body for 1 week and only listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else." And he said, "And I will promise you a premiership." He said, "It will happen."
He hadn't thought and planned about what do I do, but his ability to be cool, calm and collected and provide us with the folks at that point of time, I thought was just brilliant.
I was looking at him and I had bloody tears in my eyes because I'd been in the ruck all day on my own. I'd run my guts out and I thought, I've got 1 more week in me, I reckon.
Well, it's good to hear many years later that, well, I think it did work, don't they? Because their performance in their 5th consecutive final for that year was pretty good, and I mean, they were just magic.
Ron Barassi believed the strangeness of the situation called for one clear commanding presence, and he'd agree that both 2010 coaches have the sort of focus and discipline required. But if it's anything like 1977, some players can expect to go through a hellish week.
That week was the hardest week I've ever put in. I think my family, I had an 8-week-old baby and my wife and that, and I don't think I spoke for the week.
The throw in, Keenan Winter.
North's ruckman, Peter, or Crackers, Keenan, says one player even resigned at the last training session before the replay.
One of our players retired on the Thursday night. I won't mention his name, but he walked off the track on the Thursday night. Brass had to talk him back into it. And there was a player put on notice who would play if this bloke didn't play, and we weren't allowed to hold it against him. He played and played very well and got in the best.
Tom, what would you have planned for the players this week? Anything special or just the normal thing?
Doug,
just
those questions that you're asking, we haven't had any planning so far, of course, because as you can see, the grand final should have been won or lost right now.
The story's got around that in the week between grand finals, Barassi took pressure off his charges, whereas Collingwood coach Tom Hafey ran his players hard. That's something Hafey denies.
I just felt that it was probably not as tough as what we'd done throughout the course of the year. But anyway, when you're lost, you're probably going to come up with so many different theories and ideas and reasons, aren't you?
One thing the veterans of 77 would all advise is to keep things as normal as possible.
Players are creatures of habit. Make no bones about it. It'll come down to the things we don't know about a player before a game saying, I put the left sock on before the right.
In the end, Tom Hafey says 1977 might just be a case study in how a side can psych itself out of a match before it begins.
I suppose the players might have felt they'd already won because we'd gone from bottom to top in 1 year, which is unheard of. And to play in the grand final, I think the players felt that just to get there was a goal in itself.
Many believe the still fresh memory of Grand Final #1 will be the greatest psychological factor of all.
St Kilda, I don't think they believed they could win that premiership. Now they know they can win a premiership. Collingwood know they can lose a premiership. They had it won.
And so the mental games begin. And for the class of 77, it's just another opportunity to see another two high-class sides make history.
I've just got a feeling it's going to be a great game again. They're going to be very sore blokes. Who's toughest mentally, and who can come up mentally, they will win.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. The more we talk about it, the more keener I'm getting to see it. I've got to get tickets yet.
Fascinating stuff, even if you don't follow sport. Mary Gearan with that report.